So you've been in this studio 15 years, 16 years?
Yeah, I think it's 15 years. It started off, I just sublet one room, and then it's kind of expanded as various people have come and gone. So this is kind of my room, I suppose. It's where research and development goes on, and then that's Tim's room is through there, which is where a lot of the writing gets done, and Tim does his own stuff. And there's a guy called Scott Fraser who makes music in the room down there, and there's another room we can't go in because there's no lights at the moment, but there's probably about 10,000 records in there. And then another little room full of vintage bass guitars. It's a vintage bass guitar shop. It's a friend of mine, Andy Baxter. He operates out of here, and he's part of the recording process as well, because I usually write relatively clumsy one-finger bass lines, and then I can walk a matter of feet and ask him to bring in any number of beautiful vintage bass guitars and play them nicely through a valve amp. So yeah, it's a nice place to come to work. It's very even if I'm not actually making music, it's always quite inspirational. There's always people down there. There's always music going on. You know, every 5 minutes you're kind of going to someone's room asking them, "What the hell is that you're doing?" Which helps your own. You know, if you're in a creative space and everyone else is enjoying their work, it can't help but rub off on what you're doing. I had a grammar school education, or the remnants of, and studied art, and I actually got an A grade art A level, which was art history and painting. And I tried to get into St Martin's and Wimbledon, but I think basically, you know, although I'd got an A grade A level, I think the kind of report from my form master said, despite this young man's exemplary exam results, under no circumstances let this fuckwit through your hallowed portals, I would say. So I went into the heady and glamorous world of furniture portering. I got expelled from school and asked to leave the family bosom, and had to get a job, had to feed myself and clothe myself and pay for my rent, so I had to get a job that wasn't involved in the arts. So I became a furniture porter for Pyle Brothers of Pescud Street, Windsor, Berkshire, where I learnt the art of balancing leather Chesterfields on my head.
When did the DJing start off? I mean,
I DJ'd. I had a good record collection, and so throughout the 80s, I was kind of asked to DJ at house parties and the odd event. But it was sort of around the sort of nascent acid house scene when it was only 200 people. You know, it's a couple of kids off the Roundshore estate and Ziggy's in Streatham and the Future and the Shum. And I went to those clubs, and they were playing a lot of music that I already knew, like the Residents and the Wooden Tops and things like that. So I knew I had records as good as that, if not better, that they might not know, that because they hadn't been played in Amnesia or wherever. So I got asked to play at parties. And I think I'd met Danny Ramplin a couple of times before, but he just liked what I was playing and said, can you come and play at the Shum? It was never meant, you know, back then, from the time I left school up until sort of 86, 87, I was working. You'd work for a couple of months, jack it in, spend the proceeds, 9 times out of 10 get another job. I signed on once, I think, and it was easy to do that, so I just thought this would be another good way to pay for my entertainment, to pay for my clothes and records and and what have you. So never thought it would. It was just another job to do, an enjoyable one. Don't get me wrong, something I love, but it was. And I think that's the attitude I've still retained, is that it's a job, not a career. People think that I get sometimes praised for sticking to my ideals and not going down a certain route. And I did an interview yesterday where basically the underlying theme was you could have been a contender. You could have been superstar DJ, but it's too much. Then it becomes a career, and I didn't want to end up not liking music. So because I've got that attitude that I had when I first started, that this is going to end in 6 months and I want it to be as fun as possible, do serious work, be serious about what I do, but not think of it as a career and think that, oh my god, after 6 months I've not reached such and such a rung on a ladder.
Has it changed much from the?
It's still the basic concept that you knew as a
young lad. Yeah.
It's a square, or oblong room with speakers and flashing lights and drug-addled teenagers seeking transcendence through repetitive beats.
I'm quite relieved to hear that, actually.
That hasn't changed. It's only that we think we're very sophisticated, but we are the basic chimps of thousands of years ago. The basic needs for transcendence is still there, regardless of how many gigabytes you've got in your computer. It's method of delivery. All it's changed is the method of delivery. It's going from a live big band in the 30s to then early DJ, people listening to the music on vinyl. It's like I say, the basic needs is always the same. I don't know, maybe a bit crass to equate going out and taking drugs at a disco with going to church, but maybe a tad blasphemous to some people. But some people want it ordered, and they want middlemen. So they'll join a church or they're part of a religion, and some people just want to find it themselves. They may be being a bit greedy because there's a little less work involved sometimes with taking drugs rather than studying the scriptures of great religions.
Well, you still need your master of ceremony though.
It is a bit of a shortcut, but I think that the end, the goal everyone's aiming for is the same. It's just that there's a lot of people taking shortcuts.
Well, you still need the DJ there to deliver that. I was going to say message, that sound.
Well, it's the quiet. It's just like any body in control of music that's wanting people to transcend themselves, whether it's a choir master or a band leader. It's just we've come to kind of make a star out of the DJ. That's the change. Is before people were doing it was their own music. They were up there playing or conducting, whereas now you are playing someone. You're a selector. You're a sound. You're taking other people's music to create a soundtrack to someone's night. I mean, a lot of the time it can be your own music. It is in my case. I play the tracks that I make in this studio, but you're still not given a live musical performance per se. But I mean, I don't know how important is that. Depends what you're going to see. If I went to see a dirty rhythm and blues or a rockabilly band, I'd want them to be really playing. But if I went to a pop concert to see what it was like, the spectacle would be more important than the technical ability or the fact that the people on stage were playing live. But it just happens that I go to more gigs by dirty rhythm and blues and punk rock groups than I do One Direction gigs.
What's wrong with One Direction? They're big selling artist.
That's I love. I'm not that curmudgeonly. I don't, contrary to popular belief. I love pop culture, but I just find it at the moment a little bit dreary and mediocre. and lacking in charm. It's almost like that thing they say about misanthropic people. The reason they're misanthropic people is because they know that the human race can be better. And I'm just a bit misanthropic when it comes to pop music, because I know it can be better. Everyone seems to be a bit too grateful. The bands seem to be a bit grateful. There's too many bands going, thanks everyone for coming at the end of the night. Not like, fuck off, what you're doing here, you know, I told you we were good. You know, there's a bit of that lacking.
Still DJing with vinyl?
I buy vinyl. I kind of am. I buy vinyl and I record onto CD, because then I have the best of both. I love vinyl, but I don't. I didn't like lugging 30 kilos of records around Europe at the best of times, even less so now. So you get to carry a lot of vinyl, even although it's recorded with an analog line onto a CD player. You still get people. They expect me to play on vinyl. You get one punter a gig coming up and having a look and kind of looking at you with a kind of disappointed, slight shrug, and off they walk. But there's no point trying to lean over and shout, and explain that you do actually support vinyl.
How did you make that step from DJ to producer?
Well, again, it was just because I had a good record collection. So I became a DJ because I had a good record collection, and I'd been playing at clubs that people wanted to go to, and those bands were at those clubs. So it's, the ones that I wanted to work with are the ones that went to the club and were genuinely influenced by the music that I was playing, or Paul Oakenfold was playing, or Danny Rampling was playing, so it seemed only natural that they would ask me to make their records sound like the records I was playing or they were dancing to. That's why I was bought. I wasn't bought in as a technical. It was the fact that I knew I was on those dance floors every weekend. That's the knowledge that I was bringing, and the structures and the sounds of those records. I had to work with an engineer to realise them. But I wasn't, that same engineer wasn't in DJing in nightclubs every weekend. I think half of the attraction for art for me was its lack of respectability. Especially being brought up in the suburbs, which was, I didn't have a bad upbringing, but it was the suburbs, and it was quite monochromatic, and all the colour seemed to be coming from people that weren't that respectable. David Bowie on Top of the Pops doing Starman, that old suburban cliche, that wasn't deemed particularly respectable just after tea time in 1972. And the same with the Sex Pistols. That to my parents' generation and their parents who'd fought in the Second World War, that was a giant, literally a gob in the face sometimes.
How long have you been doing this for?
Well, I would say I'm just trying to kind of put myself in the back in the vortex when I was kind of a little bit of a loose cannon, which has been sort of 5-6 years ago. Yeah, sort of 6-7 years ago maybe. This studio was a hub of characters, as you called them earlier on. We were having a good time, but I was living the lifestyle a bit too much. There's many distractions around here. Should you wish to get involved, and I just got involved a little bit too much, and it was detrimental to my health, wealth, and physical well-being, and just decided that kind of going from quite a heavy intake, it was probably quite dangerous. What I did was going from a quite heavy daily intake to literally nothing, and the physical side of it's all right. It takes a couple of weeks and your body gets accustomed. It knows it's not going to get that combination of chemicals that it so enjoys. but you think you're over it, and then the mental, all the stuff, basically, you know, self-medication a lot of the time, drug taking or drinking is about suppressing your feelings and your subconscious. So obviously when you stop it, all the doors become unlocked to your subconscious. All sorts of stuff comes pouring out. It's a very, very strange time, and it'd have been quite easy to kind of alleviate that by going back to where I'd started. So I thought, I've got too much to lose, and also I need something to focus my mind, and it was, I started sort of drawing for a bit, and then my mind would wander. But then I just, I don't know. I just thought of something reasonably easily accessible that needs concentration. I think I was in an art shop and just saw the lino, and thought, we'll give that a go. It's, you know, as good as painting is, you can get a bit lost in painting. Your mind can wander back to that place you don't want it to wander to. But with this, you have to focus a little bit more. 'Cause like I say, you're using sharp objects. But with that comes a kind of sculptural quality to what you're doing as well. And some of these things look that kind of look nice as they, are quite sculptural pieces in themselves once you've stopped printing them and they harden up and stuff. That and doing the band, I suppose, doing the vocals and fronting the band was again part of trying to do something cathartic, because I'd got a bit complacent, and it's very easy to sit down here and slag everybody else off. I just thought I'd give them a chance to get their own back, which they did. Oh, it's feeling promising. That's pretty much the process. I'll get the mix better, so it's a more solid colour block, and then just go into detail a bit more. But I just did it very simply to illustrate the process. Really, that's what kept me off the streets of Shoreditch for a number of years, and which I think I shall. I've not done. That's the first one I've done for a year or so, but it's kind of whetted the appetite.
What's the next chapter?
It was supposed to be something that lasted for 6 months before I I got another job. So I've still got a bit of that mentality, but hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, in 5 years, when I'm releasing another album, you might come down here and want to talk to me again. I don't know. I want to go into other areas. I want to get back. I want to do some writing and hopefully do some more artwork. But the DJing thing is difficult, but it's very inspirational if you've had a good couple of gigs at the weekend and you've kind of fired up when you get into the studio on Monday. It's quite a good energy to use. I suppose it's a bit vampiric, using the energy of dancing teenagers to fuel your but that's what it feels like. You do get a lot of energy from good gigs at the weekend, which hopefully transfers into some sort of artistic outpouring.
One